What makes a champion? Is it strength, skill, or something deeper? Something forged long before the bright lights of the arena ever hit a young fighter's skin?
Early takedown.
But Ilia, who's an elite grappler himself.
When you hear the name Ilia Topuria, do you think of the undefeated menace, the UFC champion, the knockout artist feared by the world's best?
Well, he's already busted up. Out cold.
A man of his word.
Oh my.
Or do you wonder what storms he had to weather before he ever stepped foot inside an octagon? His story is so full of twists, battles, heartbreak, and astonishing transformation that it almost sounds fictional. Yet everything about Ilia's journey is painfully, beautifully real. The tale begins far from the roar of stadium crowds in Germany.
Born in Germany, I lived there for 7 years, and then we moved to Georgia, and since 7 to 15, I was living there.
Where Ilia was born to Georgian parents who had uprooted their lives in search of stability. But stability was never promised. The family moved back to Georgia when Ilia was still a child. That transition alone could break some spirits. How many kids can say they've had to rebuild friendships, routines, and identities before adolescence? But for Ilia, this was merely the opening chapter of a life destined to be anything but predictable. In Georgia, he and his brother discovered Greco-Roman wrestling. For many boys, sports are hobbies. For Ilia, the mat became a sanctuary. But even that refuge wasn't enough to shield him from the painful realities of growing up. He wasn't the loud, confident kid in the room. He wasn't the one who towered over bullies. In fact, he became a target. Imagine being a young boy walking into school every day with a knot of fear in your stomach, wondering if you'll be shoved, mocked, or humiliated. How does a child cope with that? What kind of fire does it ignite or extinguish inside? For Ilia, the bullying carved deep emotional scars. His mother later revealed heartbreaking truths about what he suffered silently. Episodes of anxiety, overwhelming sadness, the mental battles that often felt heavier than any opponent he'd face years later in the cage. Some days, he didn't want to train. Some days, getting out of bed was a fight of its own. Have you ever felt too weighed down to chase the thing you love? Ilia knew that feeling far too well, but life had more challenges and more opportunities waiting. As a teenager, he moved again, this time to Alicante, Spain, a new country, a new language, a new culture. Ilia switched continents. What keeps someone going through so many upheavals? Why didn't he give up, break down, or fade quietly into the background?
Interesting. You were born in Germany. Your parents are of Georgian descent, correct?
Yeah, correct.
And when you were 15, you moved to Spain. Why did you guys move to Spain?
I don't know. You have to ask it.
You never asked that question? Why are we moving to Spain? That didn't come up?
Yeah, because of the job. You know, we were living in Georgia, and that time in Georgia, there was a little bit of.
In Spain, he found something invaluable, a gym that believed in him. Climate Club became the place where everything started to click. MMA offered him not just a sport, but a purpose. It fused his wrestling base with striking jiu-jitsu and the freedom to build a new identity.
Before 1 year, if you tell someone in Spain something about MMA, they will ask you like, what's that?
Wow.
And now everyone knows what's MMA, what's UFC.
One driven not by fear or trauma, but by potential. This is where the bullied kid began transforming into the man the world would someday call El Matador. Ilia trained relentlessly. He earned his black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He began fighting professionally. And he didn't just win, he dominated. But even then, becoming a UFC fighter is a dream so big, so unreachable for most, it might as well be a fantasy. Yet Ilia chased it like a man who had nothing to lose and everything to reclaim. When he finally stepped into the UFC in 2020, it wasn't simply a debut. It was a declaration. He wasn't running from anything anymore. He was hunting.
Ilia Topuria!
From his very first UFC fight, he showed the world exactly what he was made of: speed, precision, intelligence, ferocity, and above all, unshakable self-belief. Where did that confidence come from? Isn't it astonishing how someone once weighed down by insecurity could now carry himself with almost regal intensity? Victory after victory rolled in. His name started to circulate in conversations about future contenders. Analysts began noticing his frightening knockout power and technical grappling. Fans loved his swagger, his fearlessness, and his ability to make even elite opponents look outmatched. But no one could have predicted what came next. In February 2024, at UFC 298, Ilia Topuria shocked the world. He knocked out Alexander Volkanovski, one of the most dominant featherweight champions in history, and claimed the UFC featherweight title. Overnight, he became not only a world champion, but the first Georgian and the first Spaniard to ever hold that belt. Can you imagine the weight of an entire nation celebrating you as their hero? Can you imagine your childhood tormentors watching that knockout and realizing the kid they mocked is now one of the most feared fighters alive? But Ilia wasn't done shocking people. During his first title defense, he faced Max Holloway, arguably the greatest featherweight in UFC history.
Off, he slaps to set up this big right hand. Look at that. Clean, perfect rotation to get to work. He notices, oh, that left hook. Oh.
Many believed Holloway's experience would be too much. Many assumed Ilia would fold under pressure. Instead, he landed a stunning knockout, becoming the first man to finish Holloway. Then, out of nowhere, came the twist no one saw coming. Ilia vacated his championship. Why would a man who fought so hard, sacrificed so much, and carried the pride of two nations suddenly give up his belt? Was it madness? Arrogance? Or did he know something the rest of the world didn't? Ilia revealed that he left the featherweight title behind because the UFC promised him a lightweight title shot, a chance to become a two-division champion. Critics called him reckless. Fans questioned his decision. Some MMA coaches publicly labeled him delusional, saying he was abandoning stability for a pipe dream. But Ilia insisted the move wasn't a risk, it was destiny. He believed the weight cut to 145 pounds drained him. He believed he was stronger, faster, and sharper at 155. He believed he had outgrown his division. Have you ever felt confined, even by your own success? Ilia did, and instead of staying comfortable, he chose to chase greatness. Then came the news. He would fight Charles Oliveira, one of the greatest lightweights of all time, for the vacant lightweight championship. A dream opportunity, but also a terrifying one. The lightweight division is known as the Shark Tank of the UFC, filled with powerful strikers, elite grapplers, and champions forged through absolute war. Could Ilia handle that leap? Could he truly conquer a new kingdom?
Alex Volkanovski, he's the best.
I'm the king of this division.
How does a man maintain focus when his private life becomes public gossip? How does a champion balance personal heartbreak with professional ambition? Is strength measured only by punches thrown inside a cage, or does it also include the ability to stand tall when your world feels like it's falling apart? His message resonated because it didn't come from a place of pity. It came from lived experience. Who better to speak to kids who feel invisible, insecure, or afraid than someone who once stood in their exact shoes? Everything he does seems to connect back to that younger version of himself. The quiet boy who felt powerless but refused to surrender to pain. Is that why he fights the way he does? Not just with skill, but with a kind of emotional ferocity that feels almost spiritual?
And there it is. We'll be back with the official decision.
He is still undefeated, Ilia Topuria!
Ilia's journey from bullied boy to world champion is more than an athletic rise. It's a transformation of identity, self-worth, and purpose. He became a fighter not because he wanted violence, but because he wanted control. He wanted to protect himself, protect others, and rewrite the narrative of his life. How many of us dream of rewriting our stories, but never take the terrifying first step? So the real question is, after everything he has survived, battled, built, and overcome, is there anything left in this world that can truly stop him? Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.